Good evening. It's nice to see you all again. I'm hoping folks found the right door to come in. I got stuck in the back room and couldn't come across the painted floor. So, the meeting will come to order. The Blueberry Fields Cooperative. Today is Thursday, August 15th. It is 6:08 p.m. I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. See a lot of residents here, members of our board members, Nora and Pat from CDI. And we will have 2 guests in person and 1 guest up on the big screen here. This is something new for us. And we also will have a guest speaker, John Kenny from our engineering firm that did the septic and water inspection. The company name is Du Bois. So a few housekeeping items. If you found your way in, I guess you can find your way out. Doors over this way, and you can also cut through these doors and out through the cafeteria. Bathrooms are out back that way. If you would please silence your mobile devices if you have one with you. And once again, we just have this one microphone, correct? So if you want to speak, please, put your hand in the air, teacher, pick me.
Yeah, we got 3 microphones.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
We have 2 here.
Yeah.
So
They'll stretch about halfway up the aisle.
But they're wired, right?
They're wired.
Okay, all right. So please just raise your hand. If you yell out, we can't record it for other folks. So just wanted to give you a quick timeline. If you've seen the agenda for tonight, we've got quite a bit to cover. And my screen went blank and I've lost that, but we're going to have a couple of folks that currently live in Iraq and a gentleman that lives here in Lynn Haven that has offered to speak as to his experiences. And I just want to share with you that the momentum is building. Next week is the big week. We will be handing out packets that give all the information that you need to come and vote on Saturday the 24th. Please let folks know we will bring them or get to them an absentee ballot if they're not able to come in and vote. That's very important. Please let neighbors know, folks that can't get out, let them know. And we're keeping a list. Folks are sending emails and so forth. So just please, let's help everybody get in and put in their vote. And on that note, we have a secretary's report from Miranda Chung.
Hey everyone, nice to see you. We're approving minutes for 2 meetings tonight. I shared the minutes from August 1st and August 8th via email to the board. I've incorporated all suggested edits sent via email or typed directly in the documents. Are there any other corrections to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
The August 1st and 8th?
Oh, second.
Thank you. And all in favor? We can approve it with.
I'm over here this week.
Chris Porter.
Oh.
Okay, we can approve with. Yeah, you still have it. All right. Minutes are approved. I'll pass it over to Zach for our treasurer's report.
Hello everyone. If this is your first meeting and you didn't come up and see me yet after the meeting, please come see me and we can get you signed up to be a member. For the count for this week, we have 152 members and $149 collected. Motion to approve those numbers?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor? All right, turn it back to Jan.
So, Nora, you've passed around that nice documented explanation about rocks and the dollars and all of that.
I'll do that now.
Okay, Nora's got something to share with you. In the meantime, I'd like to welcome up Walt Barrow. He lives in Lynn Haven, and he previously lived in Pine and Pond Mobile Home Park in Epping, New Hampshire, and he'd like to share something with you about that experience. Come on up, Walt.
Good evening. I'm Walt Barely. I live here at 38 Lynch Street. Here at-
You can take it off.
Okay. My name is Walt Barely. I live here in Lynn Haven on 38 Lynch Street. In 2017, actually almost 7 years ago, I purchased a mobile home in Pine and Park, Mobile Home Park in Epping, New Hampshire. I met with the owner of the park, and I was informed that he was selling the park to a conglomerate called Hometown America. There are companies that are just buying mobile home parks, and that's what they do. That's an income source for them. When I moved into the park itself, for a short amount of time, I had the rules based on the original owner. But the new owner took over in September of 2017. We were told by a flyer that there would be no changes in terms of everything would be gradual. That was not true. On October of 2017, when we all get our COLAs for the next year, in 2018 the COLA was 2.08. I was notified that my rent was going up 15%. These companies come in and do this. You are nothing more than an income source. They're not interested in providing any services. During the time I was there, I saw the park manager maybe 3 times. They never answered the phone. They had no interest in providing other than going ahead and taking our rent, that was what we would pay, and being able to use that as their income. They don't want to know about any problems. In terms of service, they had struggled with their own staff. They don't pay their staff well. They go ahead and they had a gentleman that serviced and that did the maintenance work. They went through 4 of them in the time I was there. In addition, on a snowstorm, sometimes the road got plowed not until later on in the day. If we don't make this move and go forward with this as a group, it's our best opportunity to go ahead and be able to have a good, strong, stable environment that we can be able to do. The other thing with Hometown America, they had no interest in anything other than what was passed forward. We were given a sheet that sits and says, these are the rules. You'll follow them, or we'll take action against you. Real nice on this issue. But over the 4 years, my rent went up, I calculated that, $195 in additional payments that I had paid during that period of time. My rent at the start was $385, and when I left moved out, it was $580. The other thing too, in a 55 plus community, they don't have a lot of option to go ahead and, in terms of additional funds. But those that have a double wide got a special increase over and above that, because they're interested in money. They want the fee. This park is an investment for them. We have a golden opportunity here to go ahead and build a co-op. We don't do that. If we don't do that, okay, we will bane the day by not making that decision.
Thank you.
Any questions, anybody? If not, I'll stick around afterwards.
Next up, we have this nice woman that came to us from Freeport. Her name is Carol Hodgkins. She's president of the Wardtown Mobile Home Cooperative in Freeport. Come on.
Just anything easier, just take it off. It's a little bit less awkward. Just take it off and stand up. You don't like that? No.
I don't even like using
You don't
mics,
like
so.
using it.
Hi, everybody. I am Carol Hodgkins from Wardtown Mobile Home Cooperative in Freeport, Maine. I am the president, and I would like to, number one, thank you for having me here tonight. And number two, I want to congratulate you guys because I know how much courage it takes to move ahead with this process. So kudos to you. How many of you in this room would like to be in control of your own destiny? Can I tell you that by purchasing your own community, you're moving towards that? Wardtown started the process in August of 2014. And let me tell you, I was probably as scared as most of you are now. It's kind of a scary feeling to think, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Do we own our own business or do we have somebody else come in? We decided that we wanted to move forward with the process. So with the help of Rock USA and CDI, our journey started, and in May of 2015, we became a resident-owned community. And let me tell you, it was the best thing we ever did, and if I had to do it again, I would do it all over again. You no longer have to worry about your community being sold out from underneath you. You choose what your rules are, what your lot rent is, and who sits on your board. So, is this something that you'd be interested in, or do you want to let the conglomerates come in and take over and raise your rent and tell you these are the rules, and if you are in this much of, or out of that much of their rules, bye, see you, you're out of here. Believe me, this is the best thing going, and with Rock USA and the Rock Association, once you are a member, you are part of the bigger community that has more resources than you'd ever think of. I wish back when we became a Rock that I knew how many people were in this community. That being said, again, thank you for hearing me tonight, and if you have any questions, you can ask now or I'll be here afterwards.
I can bring a mic around.
Go for it, Celeste. Yeah, we all get it. It's on.
When you were starting the process of purchasing, I'm sure that the residents had some fear and anxiety about what was going to happen. What was the attrition rate or move-out rate of people? Did they stay and see it through?
Nobody moved out. We had three residents that decided they didn't want to be a part of it. So because we purchased, they were grandfathered in, so they are non-members, but anybody who moves in now has to become a member. And yes, there was a lot of fear, and in the beginning, some people really didn't want to do it, but the more they heard about it, the better they liked it.
Did you have a specific way to get people? We have an issue where a lot of people just don't want to hear about it, and they don't come to the meetings. How did you reach out to these people?
Word of mouth was the best way. Knock on their doors. sooner or later, they're gonna get tired of you knocking on their door, and they'll at least listen to you. Whether or not they choose to go that way is up to them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I might have missed it, but what percentage did your rent go up?
It did not go up. We were one of the lucky ones.
It was a very different real estate market back then, in 2014 and 2015. Any other questions, folks?
How many homes in your park?
We have 60 lots in our park. They're all being paid for, but we have 2 right now that don't have homes on them. One of them, their home had to be replaced, so they're waiting for their new one to come in. And the other one is somebody that's waiting for somebody in the family to give them theirs.
Any other questions, folks? Board?
Carol, I'm wondering, what was your biggest challenge in your monthly board meetings?
I wasn't involved in the beginning. I didn't want to have, I wanted to be part of the ROC, but I myself didn't want to have anything to do with being on the board or serving on a committee. But my husband, who was way more outgoing than I was right in the thick of it, and so sooner or later, I jumped in. Our biggest thing is reminding people to A, turn off their phones, and B, stop the chatter, the side conversations, because we had a lot of that in the beginning. But it does work itself out.
Any other questions, folks, for Carol? Thank you, Carol.
So I can introduce the next folks if I can figure out the technology. So the next people are joining us on Zoom because they're in Massachusetts. So there's 2 guys. One is the president, one is the maintenance director, Bob and Al. I worked with them in 2022, and I thought that they would be a good example because they purchased in this crazy real estate market. So the buyer of their community, which is 154 homes in Wareham, was Legacy Communities. So the same buyer that's active in Maine and all across the country. And they had to do a rent increase to purchase. They'll tell you about it. They have pretty similar infrastructure to your community. They have septic systems that are very comparable age, and they're on town water with comparable age, system. And they just want to, I think it would be good to hear from folks who have decided that a rent increase to purchase made sense for them. Did it pay off after 2-3 years? And if you guys are asking them questions, I might need to repeat it for them because I don't know how well they're going to be able to hear you. But let's see how, high tech we can be about this technology.
Hey, good job, Mark.
On the technology? Well, it hasn't started yet, so don't thank me yet. It is kind of intermission. Okay, this is the reveal. Are they here? Still joining.
Did you say there was two of them?
Yeah, there should be two. They're joining, they're sitting together. But I don't know. His name's Al. It's Bob and Al. Says he's still joining. Oh, for those. If this doesn't work, we just move on.
Maybe they don't have their radio on?
It looks like they're trying to get into the meeting. I just texted them. This is not impressing me. The Zoom, and it says they're joining. I wonder if they walked away from their computer. So I texted to say we're on. Trying to connect. Okay, great. Well,
That computer Wi-Fi?
this is on Wi-Fi, and it says it has good service, so I think it's on their end. I might say that we come back to this and see if they're able to connect, rather than eat up all your time tonight.
Did they read the text, Nora?
Yeah, he
They saw.
texted saying I'm trying to connect.
Oh.
They don't have really good service where they are either. We're going to retry signing in. Okay, they'll retry, and then we'll just move on and call it a loss. I appreciate everyone's patience. I wish I had like jokes or something prepared. Oh, we got something. Takes so little. Okay, let's not get so. Yes. All right, Bob. Can you hear us? Bob, can you hear us? All right, what's that?
Does it connect the audio on his computer?
How's your audio working? What the?
You gotta put the microphone back on there so we can hear.
But I think it's super broken up. Can you try talking again? Oh my gosh. All right, they can hear us. I think it's something on your computer. Something's, maybe your microphone's muffled or maybe it's these. Chris, do you think it could be these?
Try unplugging it.
Talk now? Bob, can you try talking now?
No, it's on their end.
Bob, do you want to try turning your video off? Your audio's not coming through for us. We're so close. How about that?
That sounds a little bit better.
Wait, try talking? Yeah. We're gonna try one thing, Bob. All right, try now. Can you try now?
All right, is that better?
That's better.
Absolutely.
All right, well, it's like radio. I'm glad we got this projector. Bob and Al, you are, you're in a room, you're in a theater in a high school, and you can just say whatever you want at this point. We can hear you.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. We're glad to be here with you and talk to you about where you're going, and hopefully you'll find it to be beneficial. My name is Bob Costa. I'm the president of our association here in Wareham, Massachusetts. And with me is Al Latini, who's our operations maintenance director. We've been on the board since the inception of buying our mobile home park, which we've owned for 2.5 years now. We're actually in the last third year. Our park is 153 mobile homes. When we bought the park, we had 10 vacant lots. We've been proceeding with infill. We have just about 7 homes in, folks only got the hand now.
Oh, you can see us. You can't hear? Great. Bob, can you try talking a little louder? They can't hear you in the back.
All right, is that any better? I was close to my computer and speaking as loud as I can.
All right. Miranda turned you up. There's a knob. There's a knob. All right, go for it.
So anyhow, we have 153 home lots, a bit smaller than what you guys are looking at. You have, sounds like you have a great park there. We were surprised, we all got surprised as residents when we got a certified letter that our park is going up for sale. And that a company by the name of Legacy, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with, had put an offer in to buy our park. We were kind of at a loss as individual residents as to what we were going to do. And then along came Nora and wonderful CDI, who gave us an opportunity to look at another option, which was to buy our own park. We went through the very same process that you guys are going. Quite frankly, your park is very similar to us other than in size. You have underground utilities, you have septic system, we do too. And however, our park was an older park built back in the early 70s. Our infrastructure basically wasn't in too bad a shape. So we've come along the way. We did have some issues that the engineer found with our septic systems and thought that a majority of them had to be replaced, which we've since found out that that's not been the case. The problem that we have is that the previous owner, who was really a nice guy, but very limited in his spending to do certain things in the park. And on the septic system, the only time those tanks got pumped was when they overflowed. And that's what caused the problem with a couple of septic systems that we since had to repair. We had to replace the leaching fields because the solids all clogged up everything. When we got our residents together and we decided to take a vote, we were looking at a $180 a month increase from $440 to $624. But after we looked at the big picture and what we were dealing with regard to a company like Legacy coming into the park, which they own 3 mobile home parks here in Wareham. We have a park just down the street that their lot rent is going up again this year to $674, I believe. And we're at $624, which we've been at going into our 3rd year. We've not had to increase our lot rent at all. And since then, the additional money, because since we're not for profit, we've been able to make improvements in our park. And I'll let Al talk to you about a couple of those things that we've been able to do. But the residents ended up voting, even though with a $180 increase, they were glad to participate and take on that challenge. And I'll tell you, when we bought the park, we didn't have a community center. We didn't have anything going in the park. People lived in their homes, they came and went as they did. Nobody knew anybody except for maybe their immediate neighbor. Since then, we've established a social committee. We have events in our park on a monthly, weekly basis. We use a 3-car garage that was formerly used by the previous owner of the park, was Corvettes in. And we temporarily converted that into a community center. We have bingo on Friday nights, we have monthly dinners, we have all kinds of activities which our residents are just absolutely thrilled with. We have a cookout coming up this week. We've already sold over 45 cookout tickets where everybody gets together and they just converse and have a good time. And in the winter months, we'll go back inside and do our monthly dinners where we have spaghetti, we'll have fish dinners, we have all kinds of things going on, not to mention the other activities with regard to games and bingo and so forth. The other fact that we really enjoyed and liked was the fact that we are in control of our own destiny now. We've developed our own rules and regulations. Obviously, we have state guidelines that we have to go by, but we have very reasonable rules and regulations that will ensure that the park is properly maintained and kept up, and yet it's a livable situation for our residents. We've also established our bylaws that we think are very worthwhile and strong and protect the integrity of our association and our corporation. We have a property manager who works with us. Our property manager, basically what he does, or what they do, is they send out notices to residents, they collect all the rents, they pay all our invoices, they handle all the financial aspects of the park. The board of directors, what we do is just oversee the day-to-day operation of our park. And we have a great board. We have a board of seven folks on our board of directors. And we feel that we've established ourselves and we have the trust of our residents, which is critical. But let me let Al talk to you a little bit about what he's done from his side of the spectrum, just to show you how successful we've been able to be by becoming resident owned. Al?
Hi folks, my name is Al Martini. I'm the Operations Maintenance Director for the park here. So we've taken on this task, and it may seem overwhelming because we haven't done it yet, but it's really not. It's just basically managing a few things each day, managing the pumping and the septic system. We have a lot of pine trees here in the park. We've been able to take down about 160 trees in the last 2 years. So basically managing that, and it's just small things, but it really doesn't take up a whole lot of time. Again, we have a good board and we work together. The key is that you have an opportunity to control your own destiny. These big companies that come in, they're just investing, all they care about is profits. And I'll give you one example. The person that owned this park previous, I've known him for 40 years, okay? He told me personally that he would have taken $6 or $7 million for this park. Legacy came in and they didn't even ask him what he wanted. They just walked in, they have a formula that they put in the computer and they know how much money they need to put out so that the residents won't buy it. And they offered him $12 million for it. He said, I would have taken $6 or $7 million. They didn't even ask him. So this is what happens when you get investors and they don't want the residents to buy the park. Because once you buy the park, you own it. You're not going to sell it. And then that's it. They can't make any money on it. So again, it seems like a lot of work. You get a good board, you get some people with some management experience, maybe a few people that have been in business, and it's not hard to manage. We created our own real estate when we started the park. We sell homes in the park now ourselves. In this state here, you don't need a real estate license, although I do have one. You don't need one. I'm not sure what the regulations are in Maine up there, but it's something you can think about. So again, the park could make some money if you sold your own real estate. People put their homes up for sale, we charge you a lesser amount, in a realty company, and you make some money for the park. We've been able to sell about $1.5 million worth of homes here in the park in the last 2 years. So again, we made 4% is what we charge you. So we've made some money. And there's different ways you can make money too.
Any questions for, down here?
Okay, so
Any questions?
we've been pretty successful. We're proud of what we've been able to do. I know Rock is proud of us and have really shouted out our name here at Royal Crest in Massachusetts. But as resident-owned communities, we all come together. And being a resident-owned community has so many advantages that you really need to take that into consideration. Again, like we mentioned, Legacy owns 3 mobile home parks here in the community. And on the ones just up the street, I think they do it with all of them, they have an annual 6% increase on their lot rent every year, or the CPI, whichever is higher. And that's the way they sign the lease with their residents. So every year, those residents can look forward for a 6% increase on their lot rent. It doesn't sound like a lot of money when you're paying just a little bit of money for your lot, but I'll tell you what, it goes up pretty quickly. And as I said, the park down the street, which is a nice park, it's a little bit bigger than ours. It's got over 200 homes in the park. They've already surpassed us in their lot fee. And they're all jealous. They wish that they could come live here. But we've only just got so many homes, and like I say, adding 10 homes is only adding more income to the park, which suffices to keep us very well ahead of the game. And as Al said, we were able to, when we bought the park, we were fortunate. We got a dump truck that has a plow on it. We do our own plowing. We had a small Kubota tractor with a backhoe and a bucket on it that we were able to do some of our own work ourselves. There are some things, obviously, that we contract out, but we do a lot of that ourselves, and we have a lot of involvement from our residents in the community. So it doesn't make a difference. We bought the home, we bought the park. We had a home come with the park that we remodeled. We put a few $1,000s into it. We sold the home for $220,000 and made $60,000 profits back into the community. So there are ways that you can earn income and help your community get by as you put your reserves and put your money aside for rainy days or something critical comes up. Well, my understanding is that essentially your infrastructure is in pretty good shape. So that's good to hear. But you really want to give strong consideration. Again, you then have control of your own destiny. You as a community make your own decisions, and you have your votes. And that will go a long, long way as opposed to having someone coming in and having you sign a lease where they're going to get an annual increase no matter what the downsides are. We wish you a lot of luck. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them as we'll have.
Bob, did you have to match, and Al, did you have to match the $12 million offer?
Yes, we did. We had to match the offer that Legacy made. And that's why we had to increase that. We were fortunate, by the way, we were able to get a $1 million grant from Massachusetts, one of the first mobile home communities in Massachusetts, with the help of our senator at the time. We were able to get a $1 million grant, which helped us substantially as well.
Any other questions?
What was the appraisal? What did the appraisal come in at?
Do you guys remember what the appraisal came in at? I think it came in a little over 13, if I'm correct.
The appraisal came in about $13.8 million. The appraisal came in at.
Other questions?
Yeah, I'm interested to know, Bob, what you found to be the biggest problem you've had managing the park since you've taken over.
What did you find to be the biggest problem managing the park since you guys have become resident owned?
What did we find to be the biggest problem managing the park? Quite honestly, I don't think we had any problems. We all kind of gelled together. We had a great board that was willing to roll up their sleeves and participate. The fact that we have a property manager that we selected that is well in tune with what our needs are and what we do. The day-to-day operation, basically going around and seeing what needed to be done versus what hadn't been done, and taking the bull by the horn and either hiring a contractor to come in and take care of the needs that we had based on our budget, and that was it. But I think the fact that we had a solid board of directors that were able to communicate and get along well, and listen to the voices of our residents and what their needs were, what their concerns were. And we have a great deal of respect from our residents, which makes us feel very proud. Because really, that's what we work for. We work for our residents. And, there were some people that would have liked some other things, maybe a swimming pool. But Obviously, the residents make the budget and they allow the votes for the spending of the money. So we're given a budget and that's what we work with. And it's worked out very well.
Another question?
Was everybody in the park on board to do it?
Was everyone in the park on board to become resident owned?
When we took our vote to become resident owned, we capped over 80% of our residents voting yes to buy the park.
Other questions? Am I hallucinating hands? I'm gonna come up to you and hear your question.
It was a long question.
Bob and Al, do you notice a difference between your park as resident owned versus the parks around you in Wareham?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. You would not believe the people from the community and coming from outside of our area, and they drive through all the parks. They're looking to sell their home and downsize and maybe move into a community. There are 5 parks right here in Wareham alone. And every person that we've had communication with that was interested in buying our park said by far we were the nicest park in the entire community. They could not believe how well we keep it, how wonderful our residents are, and of course our residents are very happy, needless to say. You know, it's funny because when you said that how many people voted, there were some people that voted no, they were scared, okay, and $180 was a fairly good sized jump. We're a 55-year-old park with a lot of our residents who are on Social Security and maybe some retirement money. But some of those residents, believe it or not, have come back to our park and said they wish they'd never left. They wish they had never left. And unfortunately, they don't have the money to be able to buy another home back in our park. They either went on to rent someplace. Some people went to housing for the elderly or whatever. But, you know, here in Massachusetts and probably throughout your area as well, there's a very, very long waiting list for housing for the elderly. In Massachusetts, right here in Wareham, it's well over a 5-year wait.
So I do want to just do a time check, just because I know we have John here. I don't want to leave him waiting any more than we already have. Bob and Al, although I couldn't get your picture to work, you guys were great. It was like a radio show. Thank you so much for making the time. And yeah, thank you for joining.
We hope to hear from now that you made a good decision. Bye-bye now.
Okay, so who am I passing this to? John. So John, do you want the loose mic or the mic that's on the stand? And so just for context, John's company, Du Bois & King, did the septic and drinking water inspection of the property. The report only came out today, a little bit before the meeting, so the board hasn't had the chance to really sink their teeth into it in draft form. And with that, I turn it over to John.
Hey, thanks, Mark. That report at this point is just a draft report, so we'll be updating that.
It might be kind of awkward for you, but just use
Okay. Oh, is that better? Okay. That's a draft report right now, so we'll be making some changes to that. So, but I can talk about where we're at this point. So on July 31st, we came out and did a walkthrough. As Nora mentioned, we're looking at the water systems and all your septic systems. And what we were doing, we walked around with there were a group of us, including Kurt and Timmy from the park, to show us the water systems. We looked at all the meter pits, the water pits, right from the entrances all the way through. What we were doing is a visual survey, so we wanted to look at anything that we could see above ground. We opened some of the septic tanks up and we mapped all of the tanks, the water shutoffs, the pits, the whole water system. So we have a set of drawings that shows where everything is. With the visual survey, you can only see so much. So what we did is, I guess I could focus on the water system to start with. We did see what the pipe sizing was throughout the park. It appears that it's been, as the park's grown, it's been added to over time with various water pits around the park. In general, what we saw is the pipe sizing is on the small side for what it's providing. A lot of them are 1-inch diameter water services, and that corresponds to some of the comments that we've gotten back from in the questionnaire, that there's some pressure issues that, if multiple people are using water at the same time, you're going to have a reduced flow or reduced pressure. Nothing major, I guess. If that's livable, that's fine. Typically, we wouldn't put that many residences on a 1-inch line. I think what we'll be looking at in our recommendations is to look at where those low pressure areas are in the system and come up with a plan where you could replace sections of the system with a larger diameter pipe to get the water out to the other sections of the pipe. And you'll have a whole map that shows where all the network of water systems are on both sides of the road there. We did also an exercise in replacing the whole system, which is kind of a shocking number. If you wanted to start all over and run new water mains that are adequate size with curb stops at each residence and some flushing valves and just a brand new state-of-the-art system. And we came up with a cost of around $2.5 million if you want to just go in and replace the whole thing in the new system. $2.5 million for that. Now, as I said before, that's not necessary, but that would bring you up to full pressure and hard standards.
John, do you know what percentage or what you consider undersized, or specifically talking about the one? What percent of the park load is that size?
Well, it's considerable through the park. I mean, typically with a 1-inch service, you would have more than 5 or 6 homes on that, and all of the 1-inch services have way more than that. I don't know the percentage of the numbers, but we could break it down.
I didn't know if they added on the maps, the drawings that you got from Scott Pony. Did he have it listed this is this size here, this is this size?
No, we just on our drawings we'll show all that pipe diameter.
I have a quick question, John. Would you be able to estimate if we were to bring everything up to standard, like what you think it should be? Is there a phased plan, and what would that time frame look like?
Well, I think the thing to do would be to try to figure out, and that would be a separate study, but model the whole park and then figure out what sections of pipe would help with pressure and flow, and just replace those sections, and then it's the biggest bang for the buck, and then you can replace the other sections. The infrastructure has been around a while, but it is all plastic pipe. You have most of the water leaks are coming from where the pipes connections are occurring. So, maybe a phased approach to deal with water leaks and to find those areas that could be replaced for
Would you guess that's a 5-year plan, a 2-year plan, or a 10-year plan, if you had to guess?
If you had to pay for it, make that a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, or a 10-year plan.
Well, I don't know, my personal sense is that if it's working now and everybody's okay with the water pressure and flow, I don't see a reason to change anything.
That's what the Romans used to say, morality dicta. It's a 1-2 deal.
Don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah, I mean, to
streets getting replaced. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
As long as somebody isn't out of water. But if you're out of water right now, that's all a leak. Fix it, and you still move on with your plan. You don't get all excited.
Right, that's what I personally think would be appropriate. And then again, I think it would be useful to model the whole system, and then say, okay, this is where we're going to focus in a phased approach. And that would be an additional project that's not part of the operating conditions report. It wouldn't be it'd be a good exercise to
Do you have a plan, do you have a drawing of what the size, do you have a size and height on the sketch that you provided with your?
We will, yeah.
Okay.
We have the drawings right now, I don't know the light sizing on there, but we do know it all.
Miranda, are you having a hard time hearing Chris or John?
Okay, all right, how's that? Is that better? Okay, good. It's loud up here, but I guess maybe not loud everywhere. Yeah. So I think that's really the water system. No, on the wastewater system side, we looked at everything. We didn't see nothing really jumped out except for when we were walking the site. We saw some leach fields that had excess grass growth over them, which is an indication that there's an issue with the septic, with the leach fields. The tanks looked okay, based on what we could tell. That from the site, that was kind of from the site visit aspect. We looked at the questionnaire that was sent out, and then we looked at what people were talking about with their slow flow entering into their systems, which can be a sign of either a full tank or a problem with the leach field. So there are a number of those. You have 266 individual systems out there. I think about 35 of them are shared systems, but overall there's 266 systems out there. Let's see, we looked at all the records. When you repair a system, you have to file a permit with the state. So on the state, there are records from 1975 all the way up to the present, and that indicates what was replaced in that time frame. And out of the 266 systems, 16 were replaced in the last 25 years. 14, 25 to 35 years, and 9, 36 to 45 years. So not a lot out of your 266 systems. The rest are probably, they're over 25 years old, which is typically the lifespan of a septic system.
Are you combining septic tank with a leach pad? Are you saying that's 25 years of life of?
For leach field.
For a leach field?
Yeah.
How about that? Septic tank, that's not the same.
No, typically not. Yep. And in that time frame, too, since 75, 46 tanks have been replaced, according to the records. So, and the rest of them are original when they were originally installed. Given the ones that were replaced, we have the records, and we'll provide all of those applications which show what was replaced. And they're typically a chamber system, a modern chamber system. The ones that, according to Kurt, most of the systems are a V-plank system, which is kind of an older system. They can still work for a while, but it's something that should be replaced, and it should be probably in a budgeted, maybe 10-year plan to replace so many, particularly the ones that are reportedly failing, whether there's some odor or explore the excess grass growth, or the ones that now have some issues, which is probably about, if you look at it, there are 4 aspects of a failing leach field. Is like a spongy surface or puddling. There's that slow flow, slow drainage onto your home. The grass growth that I mentioned, and odor. So out of those, between the grass growth that we saw and the questionnaires, there are about 23 systems that fall into that category. some may be blockage inside the homes and may not have anything to do with the systems, but they should be evaluated. But basically, I think it would be prudent to plan for so many replacements every year as you're moving forward.
What's the average cost to replace the system, John?
They're about $16,000 to $20,000 per system to replace. So it's something to budget for as you're moving forward.
With regards to the potential of going on to the city sewer, are the ones that need replacement kind of all in the same areas, so that might be a target area to run a city line in that direction? Or are they scattered throughout the park?
I'll have to look at that, but I believe they're pretty much scattered throughout. Nothing. As far as the grass growth, that was scattered out, that we saw, nothing clumped together. One thing to consider too is if you're looking at the whole, replacing everything over a 10-year period, you're looking at, about or a comparable number to what was provided for connecting up to the town system. So it's right around, it comes out to right around $4.5 to $5 million to do that over that whole time frame. If you do it year by year, you can do it slowly. If you connect to the system, obviously it would be a bigger upfront cost, but I believe, Nora would know more about this, but I believe there's some funding available, some grants available for projects like that, particularly when you have so much effluent going into the ground. There could be money available to switch that over to help with that. So.
John, I looked at the proposal by Ray Labby, who came up with this idea. What would it take to hook up to the town's sewer system? And all the manholes, gravity drains, and then it got down to we had to have a sump and a force main that would run out and go down the road. They said the sewer doesn't even reach here. So we'd have to build the sewer somewhere it ends up in town, down to the park. Also, I don't know how far away that is, but that to me is not a way that you can add on a little sewer here or add a sewer there. You either do it or you don't.
Yeah. And I believe the sewer district was part of their cost to incur, and then
having that force main on that part, it's our responsibility to maintain it. That's scary.
I just wanted to share one thing quickly. I talked with I forget her name, but at the sewer department, when I got the proposal that was given to Kit Scarponi back in 2022, and she suggested that if we had to do things in a phase, it would be bringing in all the piping to the park, and then to add homes as we could afford them, because they'd be about $2,200 a piece. So maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe we bring the line in and see how many sections of the park we do, and then add the homes as we can do them.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth talking to them again and updating that and seeing. But my understanding was that the sewer district was going to bring their system down to the park as part of their project.
Just so I'm clear on this, when you talk about $2,200, that's an individual service from each mobile home to the sewer pipe that's in the street in front of your mobile home. So that each owner is going to have to shell out $2,200. That was based on prices from a couple of years ago. Is that correct?
The owners wouldn't be doing the park would be doing it.
The park would be hooking up each mobile home. And $2,200 a shot.
We wouldn't be having the residents pay that. I want to make that clear.
That's good. That's somebody who's making it.
So that's we should have the final report. I believe we have next week is the due date. But yes.
who will be able to get a copy of your written results from your report without all that?
So the question was, will you get a written copy of the report? And it will be available, if someone doesn't have email or internet or computer, we can get them a print summary copy. If you do, just for the trees, we're gonna make it available on email and on the website, and yeah, if that sounds good. I don't know if the board's gonna reach all the way.
Go about halfway up.
Halfway up. Let me hear your question, and I'll say it.
The septic systems themselves, are they capable of handling more than 2 people?
Did you hear the question? Yeah. Did everyone hear the question?
In other words, we've had some feedback that there are people that have kids that would love to move, but they were told the septic systems could not handle that.
So the question was, can the septics in the community handle households with more than 2 people? There was some information going around that previously the word on the street was no, and that wasn't possible. Someone's coming with kids, so go to question for you.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is what we know from those applications that were received for the septic systems. We can tell you what those were designed for, the flow rate, but the systems in the ground, there's really no way to tell, what was put in years ago and what it can handle. I guess with a park owner, whether they have experience, and
What were they designed for?
oh, this is way back, before, we don't have any design records. We do for the certain, since 75, we have the ones that were replaced, and we can tell you those. I think it was, let's see, about close to 40 systems. So we can say these 40 systems, we can tell you what that flow rate was designed for.
I got some more.
Go for it. I'll just repeat it.
In the due diligence, it appears we got a major expense that we're going to face relatively soon. In a normal real estate transaction, you go back to the seller and say, hey, we just found millions of dollars of stuff we're going to have to spend. We'd like to reduce the price. Is that doable?
Some of this is a me question. So the instances where we have had success with negotiations is if it's an immediate year 1, 2 safety or health thing. So if there was something that any buyer, any investor buyer would look at and say, I'm not touching that, that's a live wire, I have to replace that in year 1 or 2, that's when we've been able to go to sellers and say, no one's gonna buy this park with it as is, so you gotta work with us. I guess a question I'd have for John would be, are these things like immediate year 1, 2 safety and health things that you think, I mean, I wouldn't ask you to weigh in on a real estate transaction, but are they immediate health and safety things? And if they're not, we can definitely take a shot, but I think he's gonna say, well, you knew it was old. You knew it was old, and my other buyer, they know it's old. So then it's a question of whether you still want to proceed as a buyer.
Well, the other buyer, if they're a big company, you would think they have, the knowledge to say, hey, we got a big expense here. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to say, hey, let's lower the price. They're not stupid.
Let me repeat the question. So he's saying that another buyer, big company, they'd say, hey, we got a big expense, we're going to lower the price. I can't speak for certain because we have no idea who the other buyer is. But a problem like old septics, they're going to say, I'm not going to do it. Just realistically, unless it's a health and safety thing, a legacy, or a Bay, or Sun Communities, they're just going to say, I don't have to deal with sewer backup. I don't care. Or if they do replace them, they'll just pass it through in rent. So that's why they don't have the hit, or they don't have the risk, because they recoup their cost either way. Unless I'm wrong, and which you can let me know, like, is this like failure out the gate, no one would touch this in your opinion? Like, or is it more, these are old systems and you will have to replace a chunk of them?
I think it's just something that you should plan for, because they are old systems, to plan on replacing so many per year, just as a keep things up to date. And, you know, a lot of them are beyond their official lifespan, you know, their typical lifespan. Whether they still work, they seem to. I didn't see anything when I was walking around. I didn't notice any odors, or except for the few that I mentioned that have the grass growth that are kind of a little more obvious. It's just more of a maintenance question, and knowing that you're going to have to replace them as you go along.
Other thoughts on this? Other people have different opinions?
I think you might reach you, or if you could come down, that would be awesome, because people want to hear a voice different than mine.
Let me just get my balance here so I
Yeah,
don't
take
tip
your
over.
time. You got a whole cord procession. You could probably just drop it.
I think Nora's right. I think the fact that these big companies out there would say, no, we're gonna buy it anyway, and then they're gonna turn around and say, oh, we have a problem, you folks are gonna pay for it. So I think at least we would have the chance, like you said, I think it's smart, it's logical, plan ahead, you know, do a few each year, you know, don't overextend yourself unless you absolutely have to, you know, but that's the way I feel about it.
Other thoughts, response, questions? Anyone from the board? Go for it, Doug.
Doug joined John on the whole long day, so you saw everything too.
Yeah, you talk about the grass, and I saw some of the spots as we walked around. Wouldn't it be appropriate to do a soil sample rather than from above ground condemn a septic? I remember Irma Bomback, the grass always grows greener over the septic. And so I just think there are some other recommendations of incremental inspection based on what you've seen that could lead to conclusive or inconclusive that there's a problem.
Absolutely, and we're not saying to replace all of these just because of the green grass.
Okay.
You know, in a couple cases, Kurt said that, hey, we just replaced that, and we put good loam on the top of it, and so that's green. We did one hand auger in one of the green locations, and we didn't see anything that stood out. That was an issue. Those are just kind of maybe the first cut to look through those and say, okay, yeah, especially particularly the ones that are reportedly that you have the odors or the lack of drainage. I mean, those are the ones that are the critical ones to investigate.
Yeah.
And I think some of them in the questionnaires was really indicated it was more of an interior problem and not the system, but still it's something to look at.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So there are incremental steps. Is that going to be part of your report that says, in these situations with the green grass, do a soil sample and go from there, or is that going to be part of the report?
Yeah.
Okay.
But well, either way, I think, getting back to the point where, people are told there's, you can only have 2 people in a residence because of the septic system. I mean, that could be, that's probably likely with an older system, with an old plant system, through experience, that Kurt has saying, hey, it's not going to handle it more than a couple of people. So
that was one of my concerns that we just talked about. One other thing that I wanted to mention is that there are 13 vacant lots. And so we've all been curious, and folks have said, hey, why didn't he fill those lots? Why are they vacant? Did you look at any of those systems?
we looked at, not in particular, all we can do from visually is like I said, if we noticed an odor or grass growth or something like that. We did open tanks for what you can tell with an open tank. That's a little limited.
So some of those were open on the vacant lots then?
The tanks?
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
Whether they vacant. We just took some random, spread throughout the park.
Okay.
And open tanks.
Any other questions?
Any other questions up there, Nora?
It was a question that's more about fair housing and less an engineering question.
Any other questions, folks?
I'd like to just make a comment.
I don't think we can reach you, so I'm happy to repeat your question. Okay.
Once you hook into the city line for the sewer, now you've got a sewer bill. And those bills aren't cheap. So people that are leaning in that direction might want to consider that.
Yeah, so the comment was, once you hook into a sewer system, then you get sewer bills, and that's not cheap.
So, right now, your septic, under Kurt, has all been cooked into your rent. So whatever he's doing to pump septics, it's all factored into your rent. If you buy as a resident-owned community and you're still got the septics, it's all factored into your rent. If you, down the line connect to sewer, I've never seen a resident group split out a sewer bill. It would all be baked into the rent. So it's not like some park owners that will hit you with the rent, then hit you with the water bill, then hit you with the sewer bill. In a resident-owned community, it kind of is all wrapped up into one rent. But you're right, it would just be a different expense to consider versus the expense you're paying for septic.
Wouldn't that also drive it up, drive the rent up if you're getting that sewer?
The question is, yep.
If the sewer's added into it and it's all covered in the same rent, now wouldn't that drive the rent up?
So the question is, if the sewer's added into the rent, would that drive the rent up? Do you have an opinion on whether, do you have an opinion on that?
I don't know the rates on that. I guess it's just a.
I wouldn't be able to say without looking at the sewer tax rate for the town. I don't know if people on the board want to weigh in on this, or the sewer bill rate for the town.
I was renting a condo on McKean Street, or off of McKean Street before I moved to Lynn Haven, and my quarterly bill was about $100. Just, I don't remember the exact amount, but right around $100 per quarter. No, that was just my sewer. I had to pay for water as well.
That seems cheap to me, but, yeah.
So that price was 4.4 million 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, 2.5 years ago, to build the sewer. And it was, the way I looked at it, it was vague. It didn't really answer every question. It was like, oh, the sewer is up the street somewhere. You'd have to connect to the city. Wow, that might be another $1 million to run a sewer up the street, number one. Number two, I'm glad Jay was talking about what the park would pay for the service connection to each mobile home. Who's going to repave the road? After you trench every street in this park, can you give me a price on what it's going to cost to repave this whole park?
I'm pretty sure that cost was all inclusive of everything.
Paving was inclusive?
Yeah,
I didn't see any
the connections, connection cost, and
It was. Yeah, I'd be happy to look at it again. I looked for it and I didn't see it, so it looked like it wasn't even being addressed.
So I think we might, just as a time check, need to move on, because we are doing a big membership vote tonight. Here I am, just talking without the mic. Any last thoughts for John, or do people feel ready to move on to the next thing on the agenda? Yes. Okay, thank you for coming. I might just come talk to you for just a sec. I'll talk to you.
You got like a week.
Do you want to do vendors? Get the other stuff and go right to the vote a little after.
Oh. When can I get a copy?
Yeah, well, you should talk about the vendors.
In a week, I get a copy of this drawing.
Thank you, John. All right, next up on the agenda, I'm reporting in on, we've done quite a bit of work in the background on getting quotes, proposals from some of the services that we'll need to take care of the park on your behalf. Snow plowing and mowing was one of the big ones. And Tom Benoit, who's our vice president, is not here tonight, but he and Doug I'm going to get this wrong. He and Doug and myself were involved in showing them around the park. I didn't do that part, but evaluating proposals, talking numbers with them, and we met with a couple of these folks to talk about price. So the one that really impressed us the most was a gentleman, Mike Harris. He runs Coveside, and he takes care of the folks across the street. He was a very knowledgeable, professional young man. His references were impeccable. One of his references is Pat, because she handles the rock across the street. And I spoke with the person myself, and also spoke with some other folks. And everybody just had great things to say. He comes in, he does the job. He's done not as much commercial work as maybe some of the other companies, but he's hungry for the growth. I asked him what his plan was if one of his trucks broke down, and he just thought for a second. He goes, I've got something that I can fall back on for that. He was willing to work with us and meet our budget. I'm not saying he was a slick salesman. He was just a really nice young man that wants the work and has very, very good references. So we felt most comfortable with him. Some of these folks never showed up for the appointments when they made appointments to meet and give pricing. Some never responded back with proposals that they promised to give. One company that I'm familiar with from where I used to live, I used to watch them out my kitchen window, and I wouldn't hire them. But they also came with references, but even some of the references that they gave us said, well, they needed some managing. That spoke volumes to me, and I went back to the folks that ran the homeowners association where I was living, and they just said, wouldn't hire them. So we kicked that one out. There's another gentleman that we were considering, but how do I say this gently? The communication was a real struggle. Nice enough man, runs a good business. He actually had some good references, but his proposal didn't include the areas that he was shown, and he had a map given to him, and they had driven around the park not once but twice. So we just felt that the one gentleman that came in, that gave us the proposal, was willing to come back and meet with us more than once, and had excellent references. That's the one that we're recommending, and that's Coveside. So I can say that, and they would do both the plowing and the mowing. Now, the one thing that Tom mentioned when he's talked to you the last couple of weeks is that unlike the Scarponi family, who would farm out some of their services to residents to do your driveways or your mowing, these folks they just don't have the capacity to handle that on top of doing our roads and our common areas. So we would all be responsible either for taking care of it ourselves, or like with me with my bad foot, I can't shovel this year. So we would try and come up with, and we have some folks that have actually approached us and said, I don't want to do the whole park, but I'd be happy to take on a couple of clients. So we would try and help you out with that. And that's as far as we could go with it. We wouldn't be able to negotiate it or communicate those services for you. So that's the plowing and the mowing. We had, and Chris was heavily involved, Chris Porter was involved with the septic pricing, and then I jumped in as well and spoke with the company called Doobie. And Doobie are the folks who have done the pumping for Scarponi since 2011. I think that's the right date.
Before that, apparently you worked for the old man years before that too.
So they know the system. So here's the situation. The other folks in the area that pump septics, they have priced higher than this gentleman. Even though this gentleman increased his price per 1,000 gallons from what he was charging Mr. Scarponi by a sizable amount, in my opinion. So what our original budget amount is going to be a good bit more than that. So we have to find some wiggle room in our budget to handle that. But the other big thing is that Mr. Scarponi used to go around ahead of the pumping, and he'd mark which tanks needed to be pumped. He'd dig them out, lift the covers, and look and see which ones needed to be pumped. Those are the ones that have like the grass growing over them. The ones that are the concrete cement that are sitting on flush on top of the ground, those they don't have to dig, obviously. They just lift it and do their thing. So the tough piece is to evaluate the systems and see which ones need to be pumped. And Mr. Scarponi kept really good records of which ones he pumped which years. So we're at the mercy of one of two things, and I have some thoughts on this. Mr. Doobie suggested that we could pump every system every third year. And I spoke with Kurt this morning and said, what are your thoughts on that? And he said, well, some of them need to be pumped every year. And that was what I had expected him to say. So we could either pay Mr. Doobie to evaluate the systems and determine which ones need to be pumped, which in my opinion is a conflict of interest. You're going to have the guy that's pumping the systems and charging you per 1,000 gallons to tell you which ones need to be pumped. Or the other option that I thought might make more sense is for us to ask our property manager to be the one to evaluate and determine which ones need to be pumped. And Mr. Doobie also recommended that we retrofit the tanks that we need to dig now with those cement covers, but those are $100 a pop. So we have some decisions to make, but one way or the other, we have to get these pumped and we have to come up with a means of doing it. And this gentleman is the least expensive of everyone out there. So that's Doobie. We're working on gathering numbers for insurance, but I don't believe that we need to review those tonight. Are those on? Check and see which ones are on the agenda. So we're talking about just plowing, mowing, and septic for tonight. So on that note, the board members are required to vote. So I'm wondering, are we ready to make a motion on the recommended plowing and mowing service by Coveside? They came in, I'll just say they came in at our budget, they agreed to meet our budget. Or is there any discussion? Would you like to? We have some questions.
Make a motion that we accept the company that, so moved.
Coveside.
For the plowing and the mowing of the grass, yes.
Will we accept them? Second?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Okay. How do you feel about the discussion about the septic pumping? Are you ready to vote on that, or do you have any further questions? And I think you saw the email that I sent out that I spent a good bit of time on talking about the averages over time, you know, how many gallons were pumped over the last 5 years that Doobie, thanks to Chris, his wife, sent to us. And there was an anomaly last year, and I'm going to leave it at that. They weren't pumped as much as they had been in the prior 4 years or 5 years or 6 years. So we can expect an average of 65 or 70,000 gallons. So I was looking at a number between $25,000 and $30,000 to handle both the pumping and the labor involved in evaluating and digging.
I move that we accept Dubai's price. I move we accept Dubai's price. I think there's the best price, and they know exactly what's going on here, where everything is, and there's no problem with them. There's nobody around that's got a better offer. And because I talked to a couple other companies, that's just the best offer.
Right, so one of the other vendors said that it was just too big a job for them.
Has the property management company that we are considering I don't recall if this is in their capability that they can do this?
So he mentioned that, if you look at his other proposal or the meeting minutes, I believe I read that they could help with that, because I thought I asked him that question.
Yeah, just to do the inspections.
Miranda, do you remember, did I ask that question? Melissa, do you want to take the mic?
Miranda's gonna look it up, but I believe he said he had experience inspecting and opening sewers and septics, and that he would, she's gonna verify though.
I'm pretty sure I read that. I reviewed minutes right before our meeting tonight.
I have a note that Brandon from Southern Maine last week said he's been part of hundreds of septic tank inspections.
So my suggestion is to have them do it, even if we have to pay somebody to do it. And it makes most sense to me to pay them to do it, because they are there to represent us.
I don't think we want to get into added expense. I'm leery about whoever we hire for the management, that they're going to get involved in somehow. We're agreeing that we're going to hire them. This is like the plowing and the mowing the grass. It's a one phone call deal. We need a pump, come do it. Thank you. It's not something, and he's going to charge you 10% or whatever it is. He's going to add another fee on top of that. I think we can keep them out of that. I prefer to do that.
Well, we just have to vote for which company's going to pump, and
Yeah.
and I guess we can
Finesse the details.
we can finesse the details about the labor.
Motion that we accept today's proposal for the pumping, and we'll work out the details later.
All in favor?
Moved and second. Everyone in favor?
We have some important things, if you can give us just a few more minutes.
Did you vote, Janet?
I sure did.
Didn't see you.
So we're going to jump ahead. We had some new business to talk about, and income surveys. Are those come along?
Yeah, I think we should just do property management
Okay.
vote, yeah.
All right, so now I guess we're adjourning the board meeting. So I'm going to call it adjourned, and then we're opening up a membership meeting.
Does someone just want to make a motion to adjourn the board meeting?
I make a motion we adjourn this.
Okay. All right, and then does a member want to make now you're moving into a membership meeting where the membership's going to take a vote on property management. Yeah, we do process, you know it.
First, whether or not to adjourn.
Do we have to vote?
Yes.
All in favor of adjourning?
There was a second from Doug, yep. Chris made the motion. Everyone loves adjourning, so everyone's eager to adjourn.
And so you said we need a member that's going to open up the member meeting? Is that what
Yes.
you said? How about Walt? He's a good speaker. Do you want to open up our membership meeting, Walt?
You just, if you want, we need a motion to open up the membership meeting. So, okay. Do you want to say your name so Miranda can record it? Sherry. What? Sherry. And your last name? Blaisdell. Well, we might need to spell it out.
Blaisdell. Blaisdell.
Okay.
No, S-H-E-R-R-Y, like wine.
She's
I bet you said that a million times.
A fine
Does
woman.
someone?
Do we need a second? Someone want to raise their hand and second that?
Yeah, I saw your hand. Do you want to do first and last name?
Sandy Molinari, M-O-L-I-N-A-R-I.
let's have you raise your hands, all in favor of opening up the membership meeting. This just means we're gonna jump into the next part of this. So now we're going to talk about the property management companies that we have been evaluating. Nora had sent out some information, I believe, with the email, and I don't know how many folks saw that, read that.
Does anyone need print copies? We have those.
Anyone want hard copies? Do you feel like you need that in order to vote? I think that would make sense. So a lot of you will probably remember, if you've attended prior meetings, we had the first company came back in mid-July, and they were called First Choice, and they were from Rhode Island, Nora? They were from Rhode Island. So they had some good offerings. They gave us 2 proposals, one to do just the financial piece, and then one to do both the financial and the facilities piece. And I think the board would agree that we felt, certainly I felt after Kathy got up and talked, Kathy Doble, that came up and interviewed for the position last week, that we really do need someone to be able to pick up the phone. So to have someone that's a few states away, that's just going to farm it out to somebody else that's here, for some of us that didn't make sense. So those are things that you could consider.
How far away is Monmouth?
Monmouth, I don't know if that's just up and over, like beyond Augusta, I believe.
So, and that's where this guy's from. You think because he's local, that's where he's from.
Yeah, well, that's where he lives. I don't know where, anybody know where the office is for?
I think it's there, yeah. I think it's where he lives.
Is it Monmouth? So that's the gentleman that presented to us last week. And he's saying that he's done this work for years. He started doing that work himself. Like, he used the term that some folks don't like, the boots on the ground. We've heard that in many areas here.
That was me said that.
Well, you said that, yeah, because you're a military man, so we respect that. So the boots could just be work boots, not necessarily someone that's, got the military background. But nevertheless, the point he was making is that he knows the systems. He has managed another park in Poland, Maine, and he's young and he's hungry and wants our business. So we are evaluating all of these proposals, and we've kind of come to a conclusion about which one we like, with the understanding that we're gonna look into their references, and we're also going to very heavily look at the proposals and the documents that they want us to sign saying how they're going to do things, because we're going to run the show, they're just going to work for us. So does anyone on the board want to come up and make some more discussion, or grab the mic and talk a little bit more about your thoughts about this to help folks with their decision? Well, let's just one at a time and use the microphone, please.
I got nominated to talk. I was very impressed with Brandon. He is very knowledgeable about managing a mobile home park. Brookdale Village has been around a long time, and it's a well-known mobile home park. And he just seemed to have started at the bottom with the maintenance, hearing the people's needs in the park, and he worked himself up into having this company where he manages the park now and other properties. He just seemed as if he was very cognizant of what the residents needed. It isn't just a business to him. He really appeared to care about the people. And I just feel that checking his references, we will have our attorney look over his proposed contract, so that we can understand it and everything is equitable. I feel that that is an appropriate and safe company to use. Southern Maine, the man that talked to us last week. His price was in the ballpark. Nobody was any real lower than him, nobody was any real higher than him, so he definitely had a ballpark figure. It's a fair figure.
I just want to jump in on that and help you out with that. So each one of the providers was $25 per door per month, unless we went with First Choice and did just the financial piece, which we've agreed that we don't. So $25 per person per door, and we came up with a number of, was that $6,900?
Yes.
I believe it's $6,900 per month.
I'm a strong proponent of using local companies, Maine companies that employ Maine people, and that's just something that's important to me. Are there any questions?
Can we say that Brandon is the majority recommendation?
Yes, Brandon is the majority company that we want to have as our park manager. Southern Maine. Brandon, what was this?
Southern Maine Real Estate Management Group, LLC.
I am very quickly moving through Southern Maine's proposal here, and one thing I see is clause 5.6, authority to rent and enter into contracts. Managers shall have authority to enter into rental agreements, leases, or tenancies with tenants, hire, supervise, and terminate on behalf of owner or required providers of services. Reasonably necessary. Owner is and shall be bound to any contracts without limitation intended, reasonably necessary proper operation of and management of property, including without limitation intended legal services. To me, this sounds like that the property manager can make an agreement that the park is bound to.
Sir, I think I mentioned that when we first started the conversation, is that we don't necessarily agree with how the contract is written. We do like what he offered when he spoke to us, and we would be going back and negotiating with him and saying we're not happy with X, Y, and Z in the contract. And we agree with you wholeheartedly in what you're saying. We've all looked at that and come up with a lot of the same questions. And we feel like he just used some kind of a boilerplate legalese document. And as I said before, we are the ones that are running the show. He's not going to. And if he wants our business, we're going to make sure that we're comfortable with that contract, and we will have our attorney review it and make sure that it's what we want on our behalf. We will not let that happen.
I was busy trying to skim through before, so I wasn't giving my
It's
full
okay.
attention.
It's all right.
But to me, this just sounds like I can spend your money and you can't stop me.
We will not let that happen.
Yeah, I would clarify, this is a great point. No property management company can do that. And if they did, you'd fire them, just to be blunt, right?
And we would have just as much time to get rid of them as they would have to get rid of us.
We all had a number of items in that proposal that we disagreed with, and that's why it's really important to have our attorney look over the contract. So we'll be doing that, definitely changing things.
So what we're looking for here tonight is to get your blessing and your vote on which company you think presented and will take the best care of us. And then we will go to bat for you, getting references and having the attorney review it, our attorney review it, and negotiate how we want that document to be written and presented. And Bonnie has something that she'd like to say.
I took great notes.
Can you hear me? I never get this right. Is this good? Good? I
support of all the reasons I thought we should pick this company, so I'm going to share them with you. I'm gone. Is this a good spot now?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Along with that 25 per unit fee, he's going to waive the setup fee for us, which other companies were charging, I think, $3.95. He would be our landlord for 1 to 3 years. He's willing to adapt to our needs and changes. He has experience in mobile home management and buying and selling, 24/7 emergency services, financial and accounting. Residents would have access to their own website for accounts. They do property inspections, they're real estate brokers, and can process applications selling the mobile homes. Whoops, and I lost it, but I think I gave you enough.
One of the other things that
I just thought, you just had the company has excellent qualifications. I just felt it was the whole package, what we would need.
The other thing that we agreed behind the scenes, and I guess I should interject here, I think some folks feel uncomfortable when we have what we call executive session before you come in. It's the only time we have to get together with one another to discuss all the things that we've been working on during the week. So everything that we discuss in there is going to get to you. So please trust us with that. You voted us in, and we're going to make good decisions on your behalf and let you know where we're at with that. But I just, what was that? No, we didn't forget. We were just trying to figure out how to get across the painted floor. So the other thing that didn't make sense to us is saying like 1 to 3 years. And I'm not quite sure how we meant that, but we would give them a 1-year contract. So I guess for the sake of time, I want to say one other thing. If you folks aren't comfortable voting tonight, if you want to go home and digest this, I guess I'll defer to Nora as to how she would like you to present your votes. We are going to have a meeting next Thursday night. Even though the notice said we were not, when we met last night, we decided that we do need to have a meeting next week. So we will be delivering the packages to you for your voting information that has the rent amount and all these other nice details. But we can forego the property management, or
If people want, unless people are ready.
unless you're ready to vote. Do you want to vote? Like, give me a show of hands to vote. It looks like we're voting, but I guess we have a couple more comments.
You have a copy of that? We have a copy of his proposal, Southern Maine's proposal.
Can I steal someone's copy of Southern Maine's proposal?
Let me use this space for a second. Thanks. I got this proposal as a attachment on an email, which, because I'm so old, I don't have time reading and making notes of this and making all that. So I made a bunch of notes of things I didn't care for yet, and I left my list at home, thank God, huh? So, but it started right, I read the thing and I was like halfway through it, I said, this doesn't read like a proposal, which is what it's supposed to be. It's a proposal to provide us with a service. And I said, this reads like a management contract between a landlord and his tenant. And he's the landlord and we're the tenant. And I started to scratch, I read the entire thing twice. That's what it is. It's a proposal, it's a template he has on his computer. He says, I gotta send my proposal, I'll just send him my tenant agreement. And he changed the title up here. So I started looking at it in more detail. And there were a bunch of things jumped out at me that I didn't care for, if I could find them here. One was, and I think, if it was right, 2.7. No, this is not that. There's no 2.7 right here. Huh. So maybe I wrote that down wrong. Anyways, there was something in here about disparagement. You couldn't say anything disparaging about him. or you'd be up for financial damages, I guess. So you can't say anything about him, and you can't talk to anyone else in the park. You have to, everything has to go through the manager. So you can't talk to your neighbor next door about how the management's doing unless you call the manager and say, here, come over, you're gonna be part of the conversation. I don't think you can tell us that we can't talk among ourselves, or the members can't talk to members of the board. So some of these things should be thrown out altogether. There's no business being in here. Then the other thing about charging you a fee. So if you call, some people said, oh, I want someone 24/7. I want somebody to answer the phone when I call. Well, he says here, great, call me, and I'm going to charge you a fee. You know, there's a fee added for all my services. I'm like, wait a minute. What services are we getting if you're charging us an additional fee? So I call you, we need a plumber. All right, I'll call the plumber for you. Send me $50 for calling him. And yeah, so anyways, there was more. There were like 15 or 17 things, and I said, I have a lot of objections to these. Nobody else seemed to agree with me, you know, but I still have strong objections to it. This needs to be rewritten, in my opinion.
Are you talking about certain things?
Yes.
I got one quick thing. I'll just speak loudly. I'm reading what you're saying about communication with tenants. I think this is worded as somebody who was like renting out their house, and he's the property manager renting it to the tenants. We're not tenants. We are the owners.
Well, that's what we've said right from the start. I'm not disputing that, and I'm not disputing what Chris said. We don't like this contract, and we will get it rewritten.
But I don't think, as far as communication with tenants and the manager being responsible for all that, we aren't tenants. We are the
We're not. We're in charge.
So the board can talk to us directly because we are all owners.
Correct.
So that part is kind of irrelevant. I see
A
how
lot of this is
a
irrelevant.
boilerplate.
We're agreeing. It's a boilerplate document that does not speak to what our needs are. Yes, Sharon.
Can I make a suggestion that you go back and look at this and then bring it back to us instead of us sitting here wasting our time going round and round on stuff that we don't like in this?
That's what I asked just a few moments ago, if folks were comfortable with voting or not. And if you're not comfortable, if you need more time to digest this, then we can do that. We can vote next Thursday.
Maybe when the things are rewritten with the gentleman, then we could vote. Yeah, get some of that stuff worked
So I guess then the only thing you need to decide tonight is who do you want them to go back to? Do people want them to spend their energy going back and reworking this with Southern Maine or with Foreside? So rather than entertaining 3 companies simultaneously, I think the board just needs a directive. Who are we negotiating with? And then we'll bring back a finalized contract to recommend for you to vote on. So where's the temperature in the room at? Do you want to move forward negotiating with Foreside? Do you want to move forward negotiating with Southern Maine?
I think if you give Forsyth, if you give this guy Southern Maine an opportunity to basically rewrite his proposal, and I'm glad, in a way, I guess I'm glad that you called him. I didn't know you were going to do that. That was news to me. You called and spoke to him a couple of times.
I didn't call him.
You didn't? Then I'm confused.
You're thinking of
I thought
somebody
you said
else.
that. All right, then I'm confused.
So but our plan.
Communicate with them and say, change this, change that, change this, rewrite this, and whatever. Throw this out. A bunch of those paragraphs should just be thrown out. Well, then I think you should do the same thing to First Choice. I like First Choice when they were cheaper. And if you're going to talk to somebody, say, you can fine tune your proposal and do it. Well, then give somebody else that chance. That's all I have to say. You know, give everyone the equal chance to rewrite their proposal.
So it sounds like, I'm going to call it, you shouldn't make a decision tonight. Is that a controversial statement? Okay, people seem to agree. Does the board want to go back to Southern Maine, basically?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, is that okay with the membership?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not making a decision, you're just, oh, go for it, Brandon.
Well, I wonder if it's maybe helpful to, I think at the beginning of when you were all receiving your papers and we were sort of talking and you were trying to read at the same time, could I give a brief summary of reviews that we found online as well?
That would be great.
It's just sort of as a big picture. So First Choice, will you remember, is out of state, out of Rhode Island. When I looked at their reviews online, they have pretty mediocre, moderate reviews, so 3.7 average on Google reviews, and a 2.5 on Yelp. So not great, not the worst. Fourside, who's the second presentation we had in person, had quite variable reviews depending on the site, which is a bit of a red flag to me. A 4.6 on Google, but a 1.9 on Yelp. That's a large company, and I read that as your experience with them will vary greatly depending on who you talk to. It's also worth noting the person who gave us the presentation he was the CEO, is that right?
Yes.
Not someone that we would be directly in contact with, so it's kind of dependent on your property manager. Brandon Caruso, the third presentation from last week, he has no formal reviews on Google for his business. I found out he's a new business, he's a small business, but he does have all 5-star reviews on Zillow for his experience as a real estate agent. Everyone commented on how responsive and flexible he's been, which I think was our experience with his presentation last week. So that also seems to be the most transparent. You know what you're getting, and he would be our direct point of contact, as well as one finance person or administrative person, is that right? So just stepping back a little bit, big picture, I think can help compare the 3 options a little bit.
Thank you for that, Miranda. I think, my initial conversation with you was this guy presented really well until he put it in a contract. And so our intention right from the get-go, the minute I opened the document, I said, what in the world is this? It's not what we want. And we have every intention of going back and asking him to present us with something that we're willing to sign, that's in our best interest, that he's not in charge, we are. And I was trying to make that clear. I thought we were all on the same page up here, but evidently we're not. I just thought that he, same as the young man doing the mowing and the plowing, he just was hungry for the work. He had a good reputation. Everybody spoke very highly of him, and he presented well. And folks said he shows up and he does the job and he communicates. And that's how Brandon presented. And he said that if he didn't know something, he was going to find out for us.
I think the 4 votes.
I think those things should be talked about with him, and if that works well, then that sounds good.
Well, that was
I'll
our
catch that.
I just think that those things should be asked of him, Brandon, and if it all works out with the board and us, then we'll go with it.
That's what we're hoping for tonight, is that you would have confidence in us, that we would make sure we had a good, legitimate contract, that you would empower us to reach the final contract with him, pending that we have our attorney look at it and that he had good referrals. And as Miranda has said, he has good references. And I'm sure that the other references with the mobile home parks and the other clients that he has will show the same. That's my guess. That's my gut feeling. Barbara, you had something?
Put the cart before the horse. Do we have to be a co-op first?
Well,
Do we have enough memberships?
You're gonna vote next week, so you need someone lined up. You don't wanna find a property manager in 3 weeks after you purchase. And we also needed to know cost. So if there was wild fluctuation between these options, that was gonna impact your budget, which you'll get door to door next week. It turns out that all these companies came in very comparable, but that's not always the case. I've done these deals where some are in $30 range and some are in 15, so we definitely need to know it before we tell anyone what the rent is. And the lenders want to know that you're going to be professionally managed, rather than us, we move forward and then we figure it out after the fact. I think Chris wanted to say something there.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to bring up with the southern side, or southern Maine, if that clause where you can't say anything negative about them without financial recourse exists in other contracts they're forming. There might be a reason they're really highly rated, because nobody wants to get sued for leaving a bad review. So that might be worth looking into, as well as if he's a newer business in Maine, have they been in business in other states, and what are their reviews from that?
So, if I may, just to time check. So it sounds like there is people who like First Choice. You know, I've heard that. So First Choice gave you a proposal, so we could see a contract from them. And then Southern Maine gave you a contract, but not a proposal necessarily, and then you don't like this contract. So it sounds like those are the two lines people want to go through. And then Foresight gave you what you needed, to be honest, but it doesn't sound like that's the impulse in the room. Speak now, or don't. And it sounds like we just need to go run down the Southern Maine and the First Choice leads, and then bring them back to this group for you to take a written paper ballot. Sounds like this, and I'll take ownership of this. I thought that we were in a place where maybe people would be ready, but we're not gonna rush anything, right? So we can just take a beat on this and come back to it when people feel more comfortable with the documents. Can I get a thumbs up, if that sounds okay? And I'll take, that's on me. That's on me. So I think that gives us what we need for tonight, right?
Are there any other final questions? We do have just a half a second here for open forum.
Well, we have a proposal next week from Southern Maine. Yes, that's what we'll get for you. Yep. I'll repeat. So for absentee voting, do you want me to say or would you like to?
I'll just jump in real quick. I've been gathering from some folks already. I've received emails. So if you want an absentee vote, please let me know, send me an email, or any one of the board members. I just started a column in our database for all residents, and it says absentee ballot needed. And so we'll just keep a list of who needs them, and we'll make sure that you get them. So please let your neighbors know, for folks that can't make it, have other plans, or just can't get out of their homes and get here on Saturday the 24th.
My understanding is Southern Maine is brand new with the property management side of this? No. I heard it was, okay, maybe I misunderstood. I thought it was.
They're newer. They're a newer company, but they're not brand new. They already manage a different company. Whatever.
Okay, I thought. Okay.
You wanna?
No, my concern was that if the Southern Maine was new at this versus somebody who has 40 years experience in the business, even if they are out of state, we are new at this as well. So that is something to factor in, and Southern Maine already kind of red flags with their proposal here, so.
There's lots of data out there. Brandon did bring us a packet. I think some folks that were here in person, he handed out. Did he only hand out to the board? No, sorry about that.
Yeah.
We can get that to you though if you want that information.
We heard last week, Kathy told us that when they sold a new mobile home, they were able to mark it up and make some money for the park. Now,
That's true.
will we be able to do that as owners as well? Will we get?
We can. I actually asked Kurt about that this morning, about how much we could expect to make.
Agreement too, that if there's a markup, you should go to the park and not to the management.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't like that part of the contract either.
So before everyone leaves for the night, I would just say that next week you will get all the information that the board has been driving for, and then you will be asked to come probably to the cafeteria at noon on the 24th. This is like We need people there. People, you guys are familiar faces. We need unfamiliar faces who haven't come to these meetings. This is the decision point. This is the yes or no on purchase. Could not be a more important meeting to attend. And the board has indicated that they would also like to meet on Thursday. That won't be any decisions taken. My understanding is that's just question and answer, open forum. You'll have the voting materials, you'll have the budget, you'll have the rent. Come ask questions. We're gonna give the same presentation on Saturday for the people who can't make a Thursday night because they work or they got other stuff. But just wanna flag that there'll be that opportunity. Any questions on the logistics of next week?
I have one, Nora. When are we gonna vote on the property manager?
Let's do it on the 24th as well. Let's
Okay.
combine those. Does that sound okay? Let's do it. We'll do 2 separate votes on the 24th. One will be vote on purchase, one will be vote on property management. Yeah. And I apologize for the prematureness of tonight.
Should we assume we will have a modified proposal, a real?
If he wants our business, he'll have a modified proposal
Right.
for us.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
And the information will be a print packet at your door. It will be in a door hanger bag, so don't chuck it. It's pretty big, it's hard to, I don't know why you want to chuck it. So it will be all broken down.
How many of the residential financials have you have now?
We have 180, I believe. Yeah. Any other thoughts for tonight? Of the income surveys, 180 of the income surveys. We just got to keep them coming. Like I said, we wanted like about 200, so we're closing in.
And please also let folks know, anyone that wants to be a member that's not yet, we're still getting those trickling in. I'm having people ask for the forms. If you know anybody that wants a form that doesn't have one, and do you have some with you, Nora?
I gave 75 to Zach.
All right.
75 membership agreements. They're
If you
burning
want,
all in Zach's pocket.
grab Zach. I'm going to get a couple from him. I've had folks ask me directly. Yes, ma'am. That's too late. We have to have the membership in by the day before. Sorry.
There was a question about walking around the park with membership. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, spread the word.
I think the most impactful ambassadors are you talking to your neighbors. I think the boards hit a lot of doors and they're just going to ignore the board if it's, no offense, if they keep seeing the same face. They'd rather hear it for someone they know on their block.
We do, we walk all over the park. I was 4 to 7 o'clock yesterday.
We are working very hard, and we have been going door to door with the newsletters, with everything we've got. We go back because people couldn't make it, and I'm dealing now with some people that can't attend, and I made special copies and visiting with them. A lot of people are not answering their doors. They're home, they will not answer, and it's their loss. I can only do so much, And, there's others, many of us, and these people that work are out after work trying to put stuff on doors. It's a team effort, and it's been a great team. And I have found a lot of people do not have numbers on their homes, and I have to go and count and figure where they are. I did that yesterday. But we are knocking on doors. We will be delivering the packets. And that takes quite a few of us to do that. And we take time to talk with people. That's why I was so long yesterday, going in and talking with them and getting them caught up. And one today that doesn't come to the meetings, and I apologized for not. I said I didn't give you a newsletter because it looked like you were away, and I made a special effort to go over there today. And he invited me in, and we had the most wonderful chat, catching him up. And I said, would you like me to continue to keep you in the loop? And he said yes. He doesn't want to come to meetings, but and I'm going to take him some forms and whatever tomorrow, but we are working hard to get everybody. And if you have neighbors that haven't said they haven't got this or that, let one of us know. We deliver them. So, and I have a neighbor up the street, she's great. She has the forms today, and she's taken them all around to people that she knew that didn't come. So we're all working hard. You know, we want to be a community, and I would like to see us come together and do more things as a community when we get through this. And people have had lots of ideas. I talked to one gentleman that I'd like to start a group with men that would go around and help fix up steps or whatever people need. And someone mentioned they'd like to make nice street signs for the streets. I can't wait for this to happen. I really can't. And being out there, I feel I'm really part of the community now. So just let's hang in there together and attend the meetings and get your neighbors to caught up if you can.
I think, thank you, Bonnie. I think Carol said something earlier that really spoke to me, and I've always said it takes a village. So it's up to all of us to make this happen. And if you've got a couple of people around you that you feel needs more information, we've sent out meeting minutes. We'll give them whatever they need to help them feel more comfortable to come together and vote. So on that note, would someone like to?
One last thing.
Oh, sorry.
So quick, just to answer your question, if it's been helpful to go door to door. I similarly had spent 3+ hours giving out newsletters. One person invited me into their house. We chatted for 15 minutes, and she was really eager to have the updates. So please do talk to your neighbors. It makes a difference. I would say when folks get the information Wednesday in the packet, they want to join as a member so they can vote. That will also be happening next Thursday, at next Thursday meeting.
And if they can't come to the meeting, feel free to bring their membership form with you.
Was there any more decisions on different lot size for different amounts? Or
All of that is going to be in the package, but there's basically like three different levels, 3 different sizes, and then we apply an amount to the whole. All right, we're going to adjourn. Someone make a motion, please.